Welcome to Talent Pulse Insights, where we help you get better of AI for optimization of talent and process to enhance productivity and efficiency and cognitive enterprise. This is Nick, and we have Kay to discuss about why human as a resource tops the chart.
It's a really critical conversation to be having right now. I mean, the market is so hyper-focused on capital, on funding, on getting the latest, greatest AI model.
Right. And our mission for this deep dive is, well, pretty straightforward. We're looking at the idea that humans aren't just another resource on a list.
Exactly. They're the premium resource, the
Yeah.
strategic driver.
We're pulling this from the article, Human as a Resource Tops the Chart. And it really, it immediately hits on a major corporate blind spot.
Mm.
You ask leaders what their main assets are, and they'll say,
Legit, the tech stack, their proprietary data.
all of which are vital, of course.
Mhm.
But the deep dive here reveals that they're all structurally passive.
And that passivity, that's the real problem. The whole anchor for this discussion has to be that humans are the activating force. They are the only thing that turns all that raw material into actual results, period.
But there's a catch.
There's a huge catch. It only happens when two things are prioritized: ownership and accountability.
Yeah.
If you don't have those, you just own a lot of very expensive inventory.
Okay, let's dig into that. Why does corporate culture, which, loves to talk about efficiency, get this so consistently wrong? Why do we chase the shiny tech instead of the messy, complex human part?
It's a failure to see what the sources are calling the activation gap.
The activation gap, okay.
It's that huge chasm between buying a resource and actually getting performance from it. Think about it. All the things companies pour billions into, capital, software, tools, infrastructure, it's all just dormant potential energy.
Waiting.
Just waiting for HI human intelligence to engage with it and, bring it to life.
Can you ground that for us? Give me a concrete example of what that gap looks like when a company fails to activate its resources.
Sure. Let's imagine two firms. Firm A has a massive budget, 10 times bigger than Firm B. They just spent, say, $50 million on a new, fully automated logistics platform.
Sounds impressive.
On paper, it is. But their managers just see the budget as a pool of money to spend, and that new software, it's half integrated because nobody personally owns its success, its ROI.
There's just a passive weight, a line item on a report.
Precisely. Now, Firm B, with way less capital, demands high accountability. Their people don't just use their software, they're constantly refining the processes around it. They own cost savings.
So their smaller resources are actually working harder for them.
Exactly. Their resources are activated. That's the difference. A budget means nothing without someone making wise decisions. Sophisticated software just sits there without a skilled operator.
And what about data? Everyone's hoarding data, calling it the new oil.
Data has zero, and I mean zero, inherent value. Not until someone with critical thinking looks at it, finds a pattern, and then takes decisive action. That action is entirely human. It's undeniable. Humans are the only resource that activates every other one.
Everything else is just clay waiting for a sculptor.
That's a great way to put it.
So if the activation gap is the problem, what's the antidote? The source material seems to point very strongly toward accountability. It's not just showing up.
It's about strategic commitment. That's the pivot point. It's moving from just using a resource to actually multiplying its impact.
I worry accountability can be a soft word, something managers say to push pressure down. So define multiplication for me. What's the practical difference between using a tool and multiplying its impact?
Okay, let's take a CRM in a sales team. Using it means logging your notes, tracking your deals, you're following the process.
Checking the boxes.
Right.
Multiplication, though. That's taking ownership of the CRM's strategic outcome. It's finding a way to integrate it better with marketing data, spotting a bottleneck in the funnel that no one else saw, and then proactively fixing the process itself so the whole team closes deals 10% faster.
So the human isn't just a data entry clerk. They're an optimization engineer for their own job.
Absolutely. They don't just use tools, they optimize them. They don't just spend a budget. They treat every dollar like it has to generate a return. And they don't just follow a process. They own the end result, so they're always refining it. That's what separates an incremental performer from an exponential one.
That distinction, incremental versus exponential, is the perfect bridge to the modern AI stack. We have to talk about the 80-20 cognitive rule. This is the core framework from the source material for the partnership between human intelligence, HI, and artificial intelligence, AI.
And it's so essential. Without this rule, AI just becomes the biggest, most expensive paperweight in the activation gap. Okay, let's lay out the roles very clearly. First, AI is the engine. That's the 20%. It does the grunt work, the speed, the scale, the repetition.
And when it's used right, that engine can deliver, 100x efficiency on certain tasks.
But HI, human intelligence, is the driver. That's the 80%. The strategy, the vision, the critical thinking, the guardrails. A powerful engine is useless if the driver is asleep at the wheel, right?
Or it doesn't even know the destination.
But hang on. Is that really new? I mean, vision, strategy, culture. That sounds like the job description for a senior leader for the last, 20 years?
Yeah.
How is HI's role actually changing?
That's the most important challenge to this idea. And the role is changing because the stakes have changed. Before, maybe 50% of a human's time was spent on those 20% task managing data, writing reports, coordination.
The grunt work.
The grunt work. Now that AI can do that at scale, HI is being forced to focus almost entirely on that high leverage 80%. You have to ask better questions. You have to find truly novel solutions. You're not doing the same job. You're being pushed into a purely strategic, purely human cognitive space.
So AI gives you the speed, but HI provides the direction. It all comes back to that activation point, doesn't it?
It always does. Without HI activating and directing it, AI is just inert. The best companies get this. They don't just buy tech. They align every single resource directly with human responsibility. You have to train the driver and demand they get to a specific destination.
This sounds like it goes way beyond just, marginal efficiency gains. This is about a real leap in capability. So let's talk about synergy. How do the 80 and the 20 really work together to make a company surge ahead?
Well, when you get that deep synergy, you're not operating in a linear way anymore. It's not about just adding more tech. It's about synchronization, where HI and AI are truly augmenting each other.
Give us a tangible example of that alignment in practice. Where do we see the 80% really leveraging the 20% for a breakthrough?
Okay, look at HR modern recruitment. The recruiter, that's the HI driver, uses these advanced analytics tools, the AI engine, to scan millions of data points and build predictive pipelines.
So the AI finds the potential candidates, the 20%.
Exactly, the speed, the data sifting,
Yeah.
that frees up the human recruiter to spend their 80% on what really matters. Deep relationship building, assessing culture fit, strategic comp design. Things in AI just can't do well. That's real augmentation.
And what about in, say, a finance team?
Same principle. You use automation to clear out all the low-level invoice processing and compliance checks. That frees up massive amounts of human bandwidth to focus on complex financial modeling, strategic risk analysis, real innovation.
But this only works if you invest in your people.
You have to. You must prioritize training. If you just drop in new tech without teaching people how to master it, you're just making the activation gap even wider. You have to invest so they can adapt with confidence so they feel like the driver, not just a passenger.
This synchronization creates what the sources call a flywheel of growth.
It's the perfect metaphor for modern business, isn't it? Once that wheel gets spinning, the outputs are multiplied, productivity surges, innovation accelerates because people have the bandwidth to think, the culture gets stronger, and the revenue follows. Exponentially.
So this all brings us back to one really resonant bottom line. No matter what, humans top the chart.
You can break it all down. Tools only amplify what people do. Capital only fuels what people envision. Infrastructure only supports what people build.
They're all critical, but they're all completely dependent on that committed, empowered human element. Without that accountable driver, everything else is just an expensive corporate ornament.
It just sits idle.
So the command for you, the listener, is clear. Invest in your people, demand ownership, align them with every single other resource. That's when your growth stops being incremental and starts becoming, well, truly exponential.
And we need to translate this into action. I think we can break down some takeaways for 3 distinct groups here.
Okay, let's get to those. Clear, actionable takeaways. Let's start with professionals, the people on the ground.
For professionals looking to reclaim their value first.
Stop just using your tools. You have to be optimizing technology, refining processes, and constantly improving how things are done.
And you must take personal accountability for outcomes. Your job is to be a multiplier of impact, not just a spender of budget. Show the return on your work.
Next up, for management. Your job is all about alignment. You're the architect of this whole system.
Which means a serious commitment to investment. Invest heavily in training so your people can master the tools you give them. Confidence is key.
And crucially, align every resource, tech, capital, data directly to a human owner. Someone has to be responsible for optimizing every major asset. That's how you close the activation gap.
And finally, for business owners, for those of you chasing that exponential growth,
You have to build a culture that demands high accountability. From top to bottom, it's not optional. It's the foundation of your competitive advantage.
and you have to recognize that the growth you want only comes when human intelligence activates and leverages that other 20%. The tech, the tools, the capital. HI is the non-negotiable multiplier.
It's the core of the cognitive enterprise. But let's leave you with one last provocative thought from all of this. We spent this whole deep dive on the positive side. HI activating AI leads to growth.
But what about the systemic risk when HI fails? When the commitment isn't there or accountability breaks down, the source offers a pretty sobering reminder. Without that human driver, resources sit idle.
Which doesn't just mean you get average performance. It means you get a negative drag, a weight. The more advanced and expensive the tech is, the bigger the failure when the human at the center of it all refuses to turn the key.
That's something to really mull over before your next big resource investment.
Thanks for tuning to the podcast. We appreciate your support and love. Make sure to subscribe and leave your questions or advice in comments, and we will attend to it. Stay strategic. We'll see you in the next unit.